Congratulations, you have reached the final and the most challenging gate of the Vykas fight. With the most party mechanics for you to conquer yet and plenty of deadly random attack patterns, you and your team are going to have to work extra hard to execute everything right and finish this fight. So we're going to help you get ready. Here are the items firstly that you'll need. Let me stress that all of the items in this fight are mandatory, and you're simply just going to be weighing down your team if you don't have them. Starting off with healing potions. Not as punishing as gate 1 or 2, so if you do have a support you will find you won't need to self-heal much once you see the patterns a few times. However, without a support you should definitely bring your best pots as there is significant chip damage. Time stop potions. Now there is a common strategy in the fight where time stop usage is also mandatory. You could also need this to get yourself out of those sticky situations. Sleep bombs will help you bring back people who get mind controlled, and this will definitely happen, so be prepared. And finally, there's also numerous stagger checks in this fight, so whirlwind grenades will be essential. Supports and high stagger classes like gun lancers, destroyers and scrappers are great for this fight. These classes also happen to have great counters, which again are your biggest damage windows. So this is a long and complex fight with a lot to remember, and we're going to start with an overview and then dive into each mechanic. Every single one of these scripted mechanics can result in a party wipe or individual deaths if not executed correctly, so we recommend you keep this video and our cheat sheet handy whilst you're learning it. Before we do dive into the overview, let's talk about the unique Vykas fight wipe mechanic, the Desire Bar. You will notice that above your HP there will be a bar with a notch in it about 2/3 of the way through. This is the Desire Bar and it represents the amount of lust your character has for Vykas. It will slowly fill up as a light purple pink colour as you take damage from Vykas' attacks or get exposed to specific mechanics. If you take enough to pass the notch at 70%, the bar will turn dark purple and you'll be able to experience specific mechanics differently in the fight. However, if the bar fills up completely, you can be charmed and can kill or be killed by your team. This is what those sleep bombs are for. It's also worth noting that classes with stuns can use them instead of sleep bombs. Managing your own bar and the team's bar is the key to passing mechanics and winning this fight. There are golden orbs around the map that can cleanse the bar, so you need to use these wisely too. Here is a breakdown of the fight by hit points. At X70 is the Swamp Bridge. Players need to recognise their debuff and create a formation to pass this mechanic. X150 is Swords and Clones. This is a group puzzle that requires smart use of the Desire mechanic and communication. X135 is a typing test, so get yourself ready to type. X120 is an All Charm. Everybody needs to get charmed to avoid being wiped here. X100 is a Stagger check. You need to clear a Stagger check and a wipe mechanic here. X75 is a second Swamp Bridge, which is the same as the one at X170. X55 is Tentacles. You're going to need to use your charm bar to kill all of Vykas' tentacles or you're just going to wipe. If you're playing on hard mode at X40 you'll get Spacebar Orbs. Vykas releases orbs players must deal with by rapidly pressing space. X5 to 10 is the final cleanse. Reduce your team's desire bars in preparation for the last portion of the fight. And at X0 is the final stagger. Vykas goes into a damage immune mode and only becomes vulnerable to stagger. You're going to be using Nineveh and Way during this fight. The best spot for Nineveh is usually right after the typing test, and Way is safe for the final phase. Let's take a closer look at those scripted mechanics then. So as you know now, X170 is the Swamp Bridge. Vykas will teleport to the centre and debuff all players with one of two abilities. Each ability will drop a corresponding puddle after 4 seconds and then Vykas will charm everybody and suck them towards her for the kill. If players aren't standing in the correct puddle when she does this, they will die. One of the debuffs is called Despair. This will create a brown puddle underneath your feet and it slows the movement speed of anyone inside it. The other one is called Swiftness and this will create a white-blue puddle that will increase your movement speed. Players with the brown puddle will want to create a bridge by standing side by side, whilst other players will stand away from them and run to them after their puddles are dropped. This will allow you to be constantly slowed whilst Vykas sucks you towards her, keeping you safe. We recommend designating a position for the bridge. 9 o'clock is common in the community, and rallying around it. In hard mode you only get 2 brown puddles as opposed to the 3 in normal though, so make sure you space them out properly. X155 is Swords and Clones. Here Vykas will go invisible, and everybody with a charm bar less than 70% will see clones of Vykas. Everybody else with a charm bar above 70% will see swords. The strategy here is to communicate and match the clone with the sword, since only one spot will match the safe spot during this window. You're going to need to definitely have at least one player with a charm bar above 70% to clear this mechanic. Luckily, Vykas preempts this move with Alluring Temptation, causing the party to drop puddles that you can stand in to raise that charm bar. People who are in the high charm zone should ping the swords, and when their pings match any clone, one of the other non-charmed players should call out that safe spot that everybody should run to. X135 is the typing test. Vykas teleports to the centre and the whole area will have a blood rain that increases your charm bar greatly if you don't dodge it. At this point the whole team should go to one golden orb and open it. North or 12 o'clock is the most common one accepted in the community. Then you want to stay inside the golden circle until all of your charm bar hits 0%. If you don't clear your charm bar, the typing test will become extremely fast. Then everybody will get stunned and Vykas will start the input key mechanic. You need to press the keys that appear on your screen and pass 2 tests. We recommend that you take your time and don't rush. It's not that tight of a test with some practice. If one player fails, Vykas will explode, dealing some damage to everyone, and she'll have a shield too. With more failures, the damage doubles and the shield doubles too. If 4 players fail, it's a wipe. No shields work or even time stop potions either. So keep your eyes on the keys and good luck. There is a great window here for using Nineveh, especially if you pass the test with 0 fails. If you fail 1 to 3, stick close, use shields and time stop, and dodge the airborne raid before using Nineveh. X120 is All Charm. At approximately X120, Vykas is going to do a move that will kill anyone who isn't charmed. Since group damage is variable, the best indicator of this is when she casts Luring Temptation after the typing test. You want to watch her hands to see her summon a pink orb, and then watch your feet to see if you have the debuff. Everyone needs to stack so the puddles spawn in one area, and people can sit in them and be charmed. As long as you're charmed, you will be safe from the ensuing explosion. It's pretty simple to clear this mechanic, but here are some things to watch out for. Players forgetting and running their pink circle out. This happens since during the rest of the fight, this is the appropriate behaviour. Strong call out reminders definitely help here. Countering Vykas while stacked can delay the mechanic and mess up the timing, so it's definitely recommended to avoid that too. You also want to avoid getting knocked out by a Vykas attack. Try and spacebar back in ASAP so charmed people don't just kill you. X100 is a stagger check. Vykas teleports to the centre and summons a big circle around her. If a player steps in it, it'll increase your charm bar. At the same time, a stagger bar will appear on her and she'll summon 2 minions that will explode after 7 seconds to kill everyone. You can't kill those minions unless your charm bar is above 70%. Here's what we recommend you to do here. Open a golden orb to reduce your charm bar to 0%. The common one in the community is the east one at 3 o'clock. Everyone then use all of their stagger, including whirlwind bombs, on Vykas once the bar appears, so you can finish within 6 seconds. Immediately use time stop to avoid the minion's explosion that comes out at 6 seconds. If you don't want to time stop, you can assign 2 players with high damage to go above 70% charm bar and kill the minions before they explode. Make sure you have enough stagger with the rest of your team though, or just use Way. X75 is Swamp Bridge number 2. You want to use the same strategy as before to clear this with no problems. Remember to line up at 9 o'clock and deposit any pink puddles you may get before that away from the safe zone. X55 is Tentacles. Vykas teleports to the centre and blood orbs that increase the player's charm bar will start spreading out from her. 8 tentacles will appear on the edges of the area. You can see them on the minimap. 20 seconds later, everyone will be pulled into Vykas' big blood orb, and if the tentacles are not dead, Vykas will eat this orb and just basically kill everyone. Crazy, right? Well, wait till you see it in action. Here's how we recommend you handle this one. Now, first and foremost, obviously you're going to need to kill all of those tentacles, but you can't deal damage to it if you have a charm bar less than 70%. It's best to come into the 55x mark with as much of your bar filled as possible. It makes it significantly easier. During the mechanic, your bar will drain, so you need to constantly consume some of Vykas' blood orbs to increase your bar to 70% plus, and then obviously start attacking the tentacles. We recommend supports and lower damage players give priority to burst classes though. All players should be using the highest damage skills they have here, and don't be shy about using your awakening if you need to. At the end of the day, if you don't kill those tentacles, you're gonna wipe, so why not? Since everyone's trying to get high charm, it's common to see someone get charmed here and start a cascade of events that's just going to wipe the party. Be ready to sleep bomb those allies who get charmed or immediately ping yourself if you're charmed yourself. There's only one hard exclusive event for this fight, and that's at X40 and it's the Spacebar Orbs. Vykas teleports to the centre and will do an inner-outer circle explosion. Then 4 blood orbs will spawn at 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Those orbs will move towards Vykas, and if one reaches her, the party will wipe. All you need to do though is assign 4 players to take each of the corner orbs. Those players will need to press the spacebar quickly to free themselves and just pass the mechanic easily. Make sure though that the rest of the players don't stand too close to Vykas and take damage and charm while this is happening. All being said, this is one of the easier mechanics for this fight, and not much deserving of hard mode exclusivity. X5 to 10 is All Charm. Take the final cleanse at the west orb so you can be ready for the final part of this fight. Remember, on hard there's only 3 orbs, north, east and west, and on normal you have an extra one in the south, giving you an increased threshold for error. X0 is Stagger and Kill. When Vykas reaches 0 HP, she will scream and start her last ditch attempt to annihilate your party. Keep cool and close it out. She's going to be immune to all damage here, so what you need to do to kill her is deplete the stagger bar. But be careful, because during this phase everyone's charm bar will increase slightly over time until they're all charmed. To start, Vykas will do a shadow ninjutsu technique and go invisible and summon her shadow clone in the centre of the arena. She will then teleport the real her to be in one of 4 directions, north, east, south and west. Funnily enough, her ninjutsu technique isn't powerful enough to fool your minimap though, so just look there to see where she is. The clone in the centre will start performing the Medusa Mechanic, so everyone needs to look away and move towards the real Vykas. The central clone will send black explosive circles that follow one player. These circles reduce the charm bar for everyone who steps in it, so feel free to follow it to the outside safely. Once you do reach the real Vykas, everybody should move behind her to avoid the laser beams that one-shot anyone that touches them. Make sure you keep on top of those stagger and whirlwind bombs when this happens. We suggest saving way for the real Vykas as it's a long stagger check without this help. Many things can go wrong with a constantly increasing charm bar and fight mechanics happening on overdrive. Make sure you stay vigilant, do the mechanics, especially dropping those puddles outside, and finish the fight. Now you're already going to have to deal with everything else mentioned in this video, but this fight also has plenty of random mechanics as well, so let's go over the most deadly ones. In terms of unscripted mechanics, the Medusa is the deadliest spell in Vykas' arsenal, and she can pull it out at any time, so you do always have to be on your guard. Vykas sits on her sword and summons a big red eye on top of her. Shadow lines spread up from her, and during this animation, if anyone looks at her, she's going to trigger a white mechanic. In normal mode, all you need to do is just look away by clicking away from her with the mouse. Use shift and basic attack for best results. In hard mode, she might raise a wing or two, and depending on how many wings are raised, a specific number of players look at her. 0 wings means no players look. If she raises 1 wing, 1 player must look at her. If it's 2 wings, 2 players must look, and she can do it twice in a row. The same people can't look if this happens though, so at least 3 people need to be assigned to look at the Vykas. If more than the number required look, the white mechanic is also initiated. Don't worry too much though, because the good news is that this mechanic is time stoppable if it's failed. So we always recommend being ready with that time stop in case someone looks somewhere they shouldn't. Then you've also got those invisible worms. Vykas raises her sword and slams it down in a red circle to summon invisible giant worms that charge across the arena. They deal some pretty high damage to anything in their path, and the only way to see them is to have a chaos bar above 70%. There is a failsafe though. The whole team can run to the south and stack at 6 o'clock, and no worms will path there. Luring Temptation or Pink Feet. Vykas will make pink swirls appear around specific players. After 5 or so seconds, they're going to drop into a giant pink puddle. It's extremely important that these puddles are placed away from the raid and away from specific upcoming mechanics like the Swamp Bridge. So when she starts waving her hands all pink, watch your feet. Then you've got the air raid, and you're always going to see the air raid after the typing test and after the final phase begins in earnest. It can happen at any time during the fight, and regardless, it's important for you to understand how to deal with it. If the team behaves poorly, it will deal massive damage and kill some members too. Vykas jumps and rushes towards a targeted player, leaving a pattern behind that explodes and increases your charm bar. We simply just recommend stacking together during this mechanic. If the pattern is 1 line, move away from it. If the pattern is multiple lines, stack together in between. Then she will end her storm with a stomp on the ground. Avoid the first smash, then run towards her because the outer area will explode as well. And of course you've got those basic attacks and counters. Vykas Gate 3 has a lot of attack patterns. Now they aren't as damaging as the previous gates, but they still do hurt, and more importantly they're going to rack up your charm bar and lead to a potential wipe. You should play patiently and work hard to recognise the different patterns, and then it becomes easy to get good damage on her, instead of focusing on damage and constantly getting hit. The most important thing to pay attention to is her counter animation. So we will highlight that and let you learn the rest of the patterns, which can be found in our written article if you want to learn more. Vykas has a fixed tail before her counter window. She will disappear, spin in circles quickly, and then teleport to a specific player. She's then going to turn blue and dash towards them. And if you do miss the counter, she has 2 possible follow-ups. She can go for another counterable attack. The animation and wind up are exactly the same, and it can be easier to get the counter on the second try. Or she'll go for a blood AoE attack where players need to be careful to go to the safe zone or take significant damage and increase their charm. We recommend the group always stays stacked when fighting Vykas for the best chance at countering her. She will then teleport and dash towards the group, making for an easy counter. Rarely, Vykas will skip the disappear and teleport phase and immediately backstep into a counter, so also watch out for that too. Now you should have everything that you need to defeat the Succubus Queen. Remember though that practice does make perfect. You'll need to see these mechanics a few times before nailing them, and different members of your team will have different learning curves too, and typing abilities. With patience and practice, this fight will seem easy for you. Good luck and have fun.